seeing Clem smiling, looking calm and cool there. Maybe PartinG also got to hear that, oh, Clem actually wanted you. And that's a bit like, oh, he wanted me? And then that could go two ways. It could be like, oh, no. But it could also be like, I'll show him.
Yeah. Too quickly, just defends PartinG also a little bit. It is 1:53 in the morning for him.
Nah, that's nothing.
It's nothing. Actually, you know what?
He streams all the way through this time. This is like his normal go-to.
Most of the pro players do tend to wake up at like 5 p.m. So, well, guys, we are going to be starting down here in the bottom right-hand side of the map, atop of the blue Terran player in that Team Liquid Blue. He is Clem. So many fans.
So many fans are spawning on the top left, still looking for a team, unbelievably. It is PartinG. Yeah, and I see some of those Americans tweeting like, PartinG, stop smashing me over on the NA ladder for the NA time zone. So I know that he does that. I know he's up to no good.
He definitely does.
So to start things off, Clem did go for a gas first here, which is a little unusual in TVP. And Romanticide, it is one of the maps where you always have to be careful of that all-knowing 4-gate Blink Stalker build. And PartinG, I think Gabe nailed it when he talked about PartinG. He kind of has like 4 or 5 builds that he really likes. And when he does them, he super commits to them. And Clem, he's one smart cookie, man. Like, he'll know about that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, Clem is really become pretty solid in this matchup, I want to say. He does occasionally in those best of 3s of like the group stages for Europe or something have a little bit of a faltering to like a Gung Fu Banda or something. But overall, when it comes to like the best of 5s and stuff, Clem, it's like Zombie Girl was actually saying, he gets this momentum built up and he just looks super strong in this matchup sometimes. So I'm looking forward to what his plan is. You were talking about the earlier gas guys, and that does lead into a faster factory over just the 1-Rax expansion. So I am definitely interested to see what he's going to be planning from here on out.
Yeah, not even going for a CC on the low ground by the looks of it. We'll probably be going for the high ground just to be a little bit safer. Although I have no idea what he's doing.
Is he sending out the proxy or the SCV for a proxy starport?
It must be, right?
It's going to be really late though, right?
No, it'll be okay depending on where he puts it. But I'm just looking at his minerals right here. Like, so it's going to be, I think it's going to be Hellions into a drop and such. But maybe you were right about that starport. It all depends. It's unfortunate for PartinG because he was kind of going around the map with a probe and went home. And if he didn't, he would have... Look at this. He's already scouted where the starport actually is.
That's actually going to be really, really helpful in being able to try and figure something like that out. If you can see the actual location for the starport, but not being able to see it, we'll see if this Adept is going to be able to pick up on anything. He sees the Hellions, which is already, of course, in conjunction with the command center timing. It's going to be a big reveal. Loses the Adept, though. That is definitely not ideal.
Definitely not ideal. And these Hellions, while they do have to go back home and get repaired and such, knowing what you're against and seeing that late CC, as long as PartinG doesn't take too much probe damage, he should still be in a pretty fine shape. But if there's one unit combo that Clem actually micros better than anybody else, it is his Hellions with medevac. Like, he's seriously damn good with it.
Yeah, Clem has gotten to the top of his region for a very good reason. His micro is absolutely a big part of it. Now, we do see the medevac is going to be popping out pretty shortly over here. The Hellions starting to rally on forward. There's number 3 and number 4. Going to allow him to do more than just one-shotting those workers with that. And, well, PartinG, he should know about this. So he's got the full wall off kind of ready with the Hellion, or sorry, the Adept and everything there. The Stalker's going to start moving around. But remember, the DPS is not going to be that high from just the one Stalker.
Absolutely not. The shield battery. Oh, that is a nice shot to start things off. And the Stalkers, the Adept and the Stalker, the natural, they're not going to do anything over here. Look at that. That is 10 probes already down. And we talked about how he had to deal damage to get back in this game, but this is more than good damage, Ravi.
Yeah, PartinG was opting to go for the damage on the medevac to say, well, I'm going to make sure that this is costly for you. But that just means that the Hellions have even more time. It's always a tough decision. And oh my god, 2 of the Hellions are even going to be able to get out of here and even check over on the 3rd base location. Maybe dart back in if PartinG decides to go for a move out. And he is going to go for a move out. And guess what? If any of the units decide to move back right now, it's just going to delay things and make things worse for PartinG. PartinG does a clutch warp in at the last second to prevent those Hellions from buying any time. And now he has to get damage done.
This isn't with Blink, though. Like, this isn't as scary as it should be. And still, like, having to force warp-ins back home with that Hellion, that is nice by Clem. There is no bunker, granted, but look at that. Viking in production. He's already got, I think he has one tank out already. Cyclone comes in just to spot this as it's happening. So Clem knows exactly what's up.
Oh man, even actually forces the Warp Prism just for a moment to actually go out of warp in mode, because after seeing that Cyclone, you have to be really, really careful about that. Viking gonna continue to work away at that Prism as it sticks around over here. Stalkers gonna start whittling away at the Marine hit points, but eventually you do have to start picking up and evacuating out. Loses one of the Stalkers, gets very low with the Prism. The Viking looking for one more shot, does not find it. But Clem forces his army back without really losing a whole lot more than a handful of those Marines.
I've got to say, Clem's played this game so far, and I'm seeing PartinG kind of move around and be uncomfortable and stuff, and I'm not surprised. No third on the way from him. This Twilight Council is so damn late. Just everything hasn't gone his way, and Clem, I'm very impressed with what he's done.
He is unbelievably in control of this game. Observer is going to end up going down as well, so PartinG's now going to be in the dark. And like you were saying with the late Twilight Council, you don't really have the ability to have that presence on the map with your Stalkers like you would if you had Blink for the Stalkers actually poke around and actually get out of there if they end up overcommitting. So I think by the time something like Blink would finish up, and we're not even going to see Blink, it's actually just going to be straight into charge, Stim would basically be close to finishing anyways. So it is a really, really tough spot for PartinG. He kept the Prism alive, and he's going to just be going straight into Temple Archives as well. What are you feeling here, Ben, for PartinG?
So, any choice he makes will be the wrong one at this point, because losing 16 probes, the Terran's already getting into a comfort zone. I mean, that supply, it doesn't lie. Like 94 to 60, the upgrade's coming online for Clem. Like, when his army marches across the map, and it inevitably will, it's going to be ridiculously hard for PartinG to stop. Like, PartinG has to cut corners here like crazy, going straight in for Storm.
Actually.
Yeah, that's actually one way that you could maybe hold a push.
Yeah, go for the big damage things, and you just got to play greedy. And of course, we do see the move out over there. And the Observer did spot the move out as well, so it's going to be hitting at a really, really unfortunate time here for PartinG. But that is just because Clem knows PartinG probably has to cut corners. PartinG has to do something. He either has to go hard on the army and try and hard shut down this kind of attack, or he has to play really greedy. He is opting to play greedy, and Clem is doing the move out that is going to be able to punish that kind of greed.
This little Viking, by the way, like that's denying so much mining, and this is just something that top Terrans do. Every unit, it was good for the Warp Prism earlier, it's good for this Harass now.
There it is.
GG, Clem. That was super clean by him. Unfortunate for PartinG, but honestly, yeah, I'm not surprised that Clem's looking quite comfortable here. Look, that does not look like a stressed out young man. That looks like somebody that's, oh, yeah, that was about as easy as I thought it was going to be, and honestly, yeah, this is a tough one, because I know a lot of players were probably looking at this and being like, you know, PartinG's such a beast in PvT, but it's not often you play against somebody with the control of Clem, but also the weird aggressiveness of Clem. Not many players do this, and that's a cheeky grin if I've ever seen one. That's a new emote on my channel.
I'm a big fan of it. Clem definitely looking like he's one of those guys that's just checked into the office. He's like, yeah, my boss just gave me a raise. I'm feeling good. Starbucks accidentally made my order twice, so I got 2 of them. Like, everything's just going really, really well for him today. And again, like, I want to go back to this this fight over here. You can see that after that Stalker on the low ground gets pushed back, the second Stalker, it whittles away a little bit the Hellion hit points, but then you can see it's basically focus firing on the medevac after that. So the Hellions are getting a lot of damage. And like you were saying, at this point, Ben, anything PartinG did from here was already going to look like the wrong decision, right? He was already so far behind. He had to just take massive risks, and the risks didn't pay off.
I gotta say, it was weird where PartinG warped in a Stalker there. He like warped it in at the natural to stop the Hellions from getting out. But I kind of feel like you want those Hellions out of your base immediately, so locking them in, it's kind of like that meme, right? Like, oh, you think I'm locked in here? No, you're locked in here with me. And he just ran straight to the north base there, which was kind of always the plan for Clem. Like, go from one base to the other, obviously, as soon as the probes get away. So I think that might have been one of those moments where PartinG was like, damn it, I was too quick with the warp in there. I should have really thought about this. But yeah, very nice start by Clem.
Absolutely. And again, it feels like it goes a little bit both to build order choice there from Clem, like you were saying, as well as also just the actual execution of that build order and everything. So I don't feel like PartinG should feel too disheartened going into game number 2. It's definitely one of those losses that kind of sucks to have, but it's definitely one of those losses where you can be like, all right, that shouldn't be the way things play out in game number 2. That's not like a repeat and, you know, predicting, like, say, if you lose a solid, super normal macro game and then you go into game 2 and it's like, oh god, I just got outplayed. It's not really like one of those games necessarily.
I'll be a bit of devil's advocate here. I think Romanticide is actually very good for PartinG in the sense that it's good for those 4-gate Blink Stalker builds.
That's
and
fair.
it's not a 3cc, or it is a good 3cc map, which Clem, he likes these 2-base push styles. So I think actually that was actually a bigger loss for PartinG than it should be. But we're getting into the second game here. Spawning over in the bottom right-hand side, representing Team Liquid, it is Clem.
And our big boy up here in the top left-hand side of the map, the red Protoss player, he is PartinG.
It's all well and good because PartinG is the kind of Protoss that will just he'll do whatever he does. You know, I'm not going to say he disrespects Terrans quite a bit. I often hear him talk about Terran. He's like, Terradimba. But then I look at his results, and the only thing that he really gets knocked out by is Protosses, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to playing Clem, he is a bit of a different beast. And Clem here went for a very early eBay block here, and he is still going for this gas first route. So it's nice seeing that Clem is kind of doing his own thing, really.
Yeah, definitely feels like Clem actually came to this series with some like good preparation, kind of thinking these are the builds or things that I want to do in each one of these games. And we've definitely seen that a lot of Terran players really enjoy when they can approach the series with a little bit of that preparation work and everything. And so far, oh, this is being so annoying. PartinG just sent the pros back up to the high ground. Another engineering bay gets started. It's just these small little things you can see. It's going to be a bit annoying for PartinG.
Yeah, what is the resource? Let's have a look at the income tab from this, because this is 4 probes that haven't been mining for too long, so it costs a little bit for both of them. Obviously, the early SCV scout, but it also allows Clem to be like, so are you making a Nexus? You are. I'm not getting Void Ray all in, at least not right now and such. It's just a nice opening, and it allows Clem to get right on into that very early factory as well, and yet again, and given how well the first Hellion drop went, I wouldn't be surprised if that might be a theme of this series.
I mean, I guess I wouldn't hate it for sure. We do see that PartinG's probe going to be heading over to the top right-hand side, potentially just looking for some of those proxies, or do you think also potentially avoiding any kind of other Marines or other units roaming around the map looking for the probe? Well,
he's going to answer it for us, Ravi.
All right.
There is one thing that could really bite Clem in the butt, and it would just be like a 3-gate push. Like, you just throw a gateway over there. As soon as you get your units out, you just go, go, go. But
PartinG does love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's going to be doing. It does look like he's kind of reading this well, but look at this by Clem. He's not actually going for the Hellions this game at all. He's just getting his Marines out, he's getting the Cyclone out, and maybe when PartinG scouts this, he's like, damn it, this French kid can do it all.
And it's going to be a bit frustrating. Now, we are seeing already 2 Adepts made, a 3rd Adept getting started over here, so think this is just going to be a big Adept flood, or?
I mean, he obviously wants to do something aggressive with this.
Yeah.
For a while, PartinG was doing this, like, Nexus before core build, where he did go, like, 5 Adepts with 3 Stalkers and would push at the front, and it could deal a lot of damage. The thing is, this can still deal a lot of damage. It's not as if it's all been blown away by any means, but Clem is... He's playing quite respectful, and catching these Adepts, this is not good for PartinG already.
That's going to be 1 Adept down. 2nd Adept also going to be taking some hits over here. The Cyclone wants to get to the front. It all barely gets body blocked by those Marines, so the Adept gets out of there alive, but just barely, so it's not going to have a whole lot of hit points for this follow-up engagement over here. Cyclone locks onto one of the Adepts. The Stalker's able to break the line of vision over here as they continue to chase this army back across the map, and it's not exactly like Stim or anything's going to be coming over here, so I would love to see, these Stalkers picking away at these Marines.
Yeah, this was maybe a little ambitious by Clem, but it does buy him some time on his side of the map to really kind of recoup, get things together. He has had tank out pretty early. He's getting a bunker up as well. That might have been a bit late, but still
nice
getting it. Yeah, nice little... This Cyclone usage has been very good by him, and he has respected PartinG too, because he's got the 2nd barracks already like busting out units, but PartinG's here.
Yeah, PartinG does pick away at that SCV, building the bunker. Cyclone continue to lock onto that Stalker. Barely breaks that lock on. Marines trying to buy a little bit more time. Siege Tank going to be able to pick off one of the Adepts that did let its Shade finish up as well on that ramp. So PartinG may be getting a bit of that high ground vision, spots out maybe the tech lab and the factory, which, the Siege Tank should already have revealed anyways.
Interesting follow-up by PartinG, because like this is not Blink Stalkers, which I think Clem is... I can't believe that he just picked... Yeah, and PartinG just shakes his head at that, because that shouldn't be happening. Like, this Cyclone, 4 kills so far. That is a decent resources lost tab for Clem. And PartinG behind all this, he's going for 2 base Colossus into a late Twilight. I've got to say, I think I like the way that Clem's played the series so far, because he kind of showed a very similar opening. I know he went for the eBay block and stuff, but PartinG, he reacted to the first game. He's like, oh, right, you're going to do that. I'm going to do this the second game. And Clem, he mixed it up. I like how this is just beautiful series playing from Clem.
Yeah, Clem also covering his bases, literally by getting up one of those missile turrets at the front line, saying, okay, got to prepare for the other shenanigans that PartinG can throw at me. And he is going to send this Marine forward and should barely be spotting out that 3rd base location, the timing of that. So interested to see how Clem is actually going to follow this up after seeing that now.
Yeah, I mean, Clem's starport was late and such, and he was just on 2 barracks for a while. 3rd one is going down now. It's definitely an unusual build that he's done. But again, I think he was just kind of playing his opponent and what he showed him in the first game. Yeah. But Stim's already done. I think he's got 2 tanks. That will be the 3rd one coming up. And if there's anything that's super good against what PartinG's doing, it's a little bit of a tank push.
Well, a nice observer positioning is going to spot things out over here. I believe a Marine just got roasted and toasted by that Colossus at the front line. So Clem should know about the Colossus if he did spot that. Siege tanks loaded up into the medevacs, and he's going to try and hit at the bottom side of that 3rd base. But PartinG, having already seen this move out, sends his Colossus and Stalkers out, and is going to be able to even force a siege up over here, just delaying things a little bit until both Charge and Thermal Lance are going to finish up. This is really, really big for PartinG.
Yeah, buying any time he can, it is very, very valuable. And tries to get a bit of a tank shot there. And I got to say, PartinG's handling this well, because Clem, he's being aggressive while getting up a 3rd on location. Like, this is textbook TVP at this point. And PartinG, all the vision he has, he's doing this really well because he has to keep that tank army away for as long as he can. And Clem, he's just posturing. He's being aggressively posturing. That drop, that could deal a lot of damage here, Ravi, because Blink isn't done.
Oh my god. Yeah, just barely is able to evade any of the extra damage there from the Stalkers besides that 1 hit. Now, 8 Marines are going to be able to move in over here, and they do have stims, so they can take out these probes pretty gosh darn quickly. Have to focus fire down each and individual one of them with that shield battery there, but still picking up 6 workers, and the medevac does go down. The rest of the army did go home, so he's not trying to go for any kind of 1-2 punch over here. He is just going to be securing that 3rd base and taking the damage he did.
Yeah, it's nice for him seeing the charge so early, because when you have that, it's like, you know, there aren't really going to be Blink Stalkers around the map, at least not for a period of time. But the ability to counter-attack for PartinG, it isn't really there without the Blink Stalkers. But yeah, I think the SV count is actually really telling of this game so far. PartinG really put himself a little bit behind here, because the Terran isn't meant to be that close, and PartinG, Dark Shrine on the way, big army, but it's not, even though it's got 3 Colossus, it's not the scariest thing out there.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those base locations that I do wonder how you feel about how open it is, and if the charge lots are going to be able to close the distance in on those tanks, if the Colossus are going to be able to potentially get some good hits off with their Thermal Lance upgrade and everything. But man, I want to ask you that, Ben, but I also look at those siege tank positions, I'm like, damn, that is a nice little siege tank backup line.
Yeah, like having, I mean, the 3rd base that he's taken, it is absolutely the right one as a Terran. You kind of want to be in your opponent's face, being aggressive, and that's the base you rally to. But yeah, PartinG has to be careful, because this is the kind of stuff that he doesn't want to deal with. He doesn't want to deal with a Terran being aggressive against him. Still doesn't quite have Blink, by the way. And he will eventually, in fact, it's got 9 seconds on it yet. So Clem gets away, and that supply is just growing. It's growing really strongly. And this is something that Clem does as well. He plays this really strong mid-game style, delays his upgrades, but will have out very fast ghosts and a very big, strong army. And against PartinG, I think that's the kind of thing that could really, really bite him very hard.
Yeah, PartinG in his GSL groups did seem to struggle in the super late game stages of PVT when it did come to those big army engagements. Now, this is a nice snag here for PartinG. Catches a handful of the Marauders over here with some of those force fields. Does only lose a handful of those Zealots. We see that Clem is also kind of moving forward on the south side of the map while trying to pick away at some of the Zealots that get a little too far forward. Does PartinG actually have enough to deal with the army on the south side if Clem decides to continue pushing forward? It looks like he's going to answer by moving his army down while sending those DTs in, but the missile turret's ready and waiting.
It's kind of funny, like Clem didn't really know what his opponent was up to, so he got that blind turret earlier.
Yeah.
You know, it's actually paid off really damn well, those DTs. They wanted to get a lot more done than they did. So yeah, Clem kills like 3-ish DTs there. The Disruptors are absolutely...
Oh boy.
Wow, 12 probes going down. I was about to say, the Disruptors are the ace up PartinG's sleeve here, but that economy, like, it's not really meant to be the Terran being so far ahead on it.
if you inverted the workers' supply, you kind of be like, yeah, it's not looking too bad for PartinG and everything. Right now, it's really not great position for PartinG in terms of that workers' supply. So he's going to try and make his push out over here, and there is a lot of pressure on him to get something done with this. Now, the third base looks like they might be a little bit more open as there isn't a whole lot of units immediately at the front lines there. The Siege are positioned pretty far back for Clem, but he's going to send one of those Marines forward and barely actually misses the army because PartinG moved back up the ramp, but now the Marine will spot things out and allow him to get in position.
But Clem, he wasn't too far out. He's ready, very quick to mobilize as well. Now he spots that observer, finally gets rid of it with a cheeky scan on top of the army. And PartinG, he wants to stick around. Like, he wants to keep this Terran army as far away as possible. Clem, he can split like 1-0 though, but that is the second disruptor shot. Lovely, lovely splits. And now PartinG's forfeiting those juicy disruptors. Also the Colossus as well. This army of Clem is monstrous with the Ghosts in as well.
It is so brutal to try and take on right now. Even as the Force Seals go out, you can see that the Vikings get some extra pot shots off on those Colossus. They lose their shields. Widow Mine drop, I think, attempted over there. Nice pick off on the Medevac on its retreat at least. And there are a couple of DTs also trying to move on in to that natural expansion, looking for some additional damage. Don't see a lot of reinforcements over here, so might be able to do some damage during this next little engagement over here. PartinG actually catching Clem in a very split up position over here as Clem is trying to retreat up to the north side, but his reinforcements going to be coming in for that right hand side. Is this going to be enough over here for Clem as he tries to move in, lands the Vikings after the Colossus have been taken care of, and you can see that Clem is starting to climb a bit up in that army supply, actually almost double the army supply right now of PartinG.
Clem's playing phenomenal, man. Like, I know he was caught out there, but he actually managed to turn that around quite hard, and back at home, he's taken a fourth base behind all this, and he did finally get that second engineering bay along with the armory, but he really, like, Clem was the first one I saw doing this with the late upgrades. He really goes for the fast army first, tries to be a thorn in his opponent's side, and he just has so many more units than other Terrans do, and I think it absolutely is going to start being the very normal way to play TVP.
Well, we might be seeing another engagement over here. It looks like the Disruptor is going to try and pick off a handful of those Marauders on the very front line. Siege up on that high ground is absolutely brutal. DT is going to be dealt with an A move from the SCV, so a handful of those workers will be going down. Love the Zealot run by as well. PartinG is really doing his best to try and put a little bit of pressure onto that economy of Clem, and I really have to say it's been paying off. Now we see Clem down to just 56 workers. He's really been able to come back economically a bit.
He certainly has, but his army, I mean, it's all about disruptors, right? Like, and Clem, if there's one thing that he does so well, it's micro. So the fact that, I mean, as I say that, a little bit of a disruptor gets a bit of a shot there. That's an orbital on the fourth.
Yeah, well, EMP is going to be able to at least reveal those DTs, and it's just such a Marauder-heavy army over here. He really wants to be able to poke on forward, but it's so difficult with the Disruptors continuing to zone because PartinG isn't just at 1 or 2 Disruptors anymore. He's up to 5, and with 2 more on the way, it really becomes tough to push into that Protoss death ball.
It certainly does. And an EMP goes down in his own ghost there, but getting rid of those DTs. Okay, that was pretty damn close. But PartinG has bought himself time. The battles are going to start happening on Clem's side of the map. But again, this army is all... Saving that ghost. It's all about the disruptors right now. It really is. Clem's still not starting as 2-2, by the way. But
both of the players have actually just stalled out at 1-1.
It's almost the meta a little bit. Like, I know quite a few players in Europe, like Max Packs and stuff, they're really going for +3 ASAP. But the way that PartinG's playing, it's definitely difficult to go up against. And that DT, he's got some work out ahead of him. But one thing he has done is notify PartinG of where his opponent really is.
Yeah, Clem is going to be paying attention to this army now as he does find a lot of these Zealots coming on forward. The rest of the army is trailing behind it, so Clem just going to micro and set her step back to find as much value as possible as he tries to push in the north side with a few units. Disruptors on point, though. PartinG doing a great job handling the multi-prong attempts there from Clem.
I saw so much Terran blood there at the top of the map that I have to think that a Disruptor went off and hit something.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen that way too many times over on my stream, Ravi.
I'm looking at the battle report, and I am seeing a handful of those Marines going down, 3 Ghosts as well going down as well. So PartinG definitely finding some nice value, and we can see the supplies are actually looking a lot more even now than they were a few minutes ago. Really does feel like PartinG has found a lot of little skirmish engagements going in his favor that have been able to bring him to a nice position. Now Clem getting hit from the north side with only about half of his army over here, maybe less than half.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of his army is at his third here. I can't believe this was an orbital, by the way. But those DTs have really kept PartinG more than in the game here. How many workers have gone down so far?
Definitely a lot.
40? 40
yeah,
SCVs? I mean,
not
that
bad.
is a huge chunk.
Definitely not too shabby. There's big blink forward over here to try and snap off one of those Widow Mines. He's going to be losing a handful of those Stalkers over there, but the Disruptors zone out the rest of the Bioforce, pick off another one of those Widow Mines. And while PartinG isn't able to push on further forward, he is still finding these better trades here and there.
Yeah, I love the posturing of PartinG. He's just making it difficult. But the thing that he has to not allow his opponent to do is surround him. Because this army, it is all about those disruptors, Ravi. Like, if Clem wraps around this army with the big EMPs, he could lose it all in the blink of an eye.
I wholeheartedly agree, but man, honestly, Ben, I'm super impressed with how well he's done this posturing and stuff. And you can see big stim forward over there. Clem was thinking about at least threatening PartinG's army to back up a little bit more, but PartinG was already on the retreat. He's been doing such a good job with the positional play, but this might finally be a moment where Clem is catching PartinG a bit out of position. PartinG is doing some harassment over the top right-hand base, I assume with some DTs or some Zealot run-bys, yeah, but Clem is able to get a force cancel there on that north base.
I wonder if Clem's kicking himself for this 4th orbital. Oh, wow, that was a... That could have been very, very risky. I mean, it was incredibly risky. 2-2's about to come online for kind of both players fairly soon.
Well, the Observer spots us out. Clem, he's going to be spotted there with all... Most of his army is just loaded up in Medivacs right there. If PartinG decides to punish that some way, this could get really, really brutal. All the Stalkers find it. This type of 1 Medivac, 2 Medivac, 3 Medivac, almost getting a 4th Medivac. We'll have to see what's in the main base. PartinG also attacking it at the same time. He knows that this is a golden opportunity right now. He only has a handful of Stalkers that did all that damage, and the rest of his army is obliterating the space in the top right. The supply for Clem down to 150 versus 200.
Not good for Clem at all, and PartinG, he's launching the kill button here. And that army, it's not one you can deal with even just... He's only fighting it with half his army as Clem, and I mean, he's microing well, but what can you do? That is so much firepower. I say that, but Clem is somehow still fighting back here, lifting to avoid the Nova shots as well, but... Oh, and I mean, like, this main base is kind of getting defended as well.
Yep, yeah, GG. Wow. PartinG able to tie up that series. Ben, there were 2 MVPs that game. One was like the DT harassment bringing PartinG back in the game. The second MVP, that Observer that was positioned right where Clem put all of his Medivacs, because he saw that, and killer instinct PartinG says, I'm not going to wait around for your Medivacs to come forward or anything. I'm going to send my army across the map and warp in Stalkers defensively, because I know you're going to come at me again with those Medivacs. Just absolutely killer decision making there from PartinG.
Yeah, it was actually like his Observer placement and movement has been really good, actually. You can tell how much PartinG really relies on knowing where his opponent is, just so he can meander about and be awkward and be difficult. I've really liked this edition, by the way. Like, I personally hate it, but when Protosses go into DTs earlier than you think they should, and it's like, you know, you go for the 1 tech, and very often it's like, oh, I'll go into the second AoE choice. A lot of Protosses have been going for this fast set of DTs, which paid off really well. This is when I was looking like, I felt a bit worried for PartinG. But I think something happened at the top of the map here. Like, some disruptors went off. This battle was also ridiculously close. A few Widow Mines killing stuff at the top there. But yeah, PartinG, kudos to him, man. He got himself more than back in this game.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're talking about the disruptor hit, because the army supply was favoring Clem by a good 20 or 30 before they were close to maxing out or anything. But I assume one of these disruptor shots got off on like a handful of the army over there, and this was just the absolute killer moment. The Stalkers look like the MVPs, but again, it is the Observer that spots that out. And honestly, Ben, I saw the move out there from PartinG, and I'm like, did he not notice the Medivacs? Like, he's just gonna leave his base? But man, he just really, really great split up there.
It was fantastic play by him, honestly. Like, I felt that he got himself into a dicey spot. Then I saw the Widow Mines hitting him as well, and I was like, oh, like, it took out a good 12 probes or so. But yeah, I think there was actually a moment there in that replay where Clem kind of ran away from like 3 disruptors that I swear they were all on cooldown or so. I felt that maybe that'd been a moment for Clem to actually win the game right there and then. But, you know, it's a best of 5. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I can respect that. At the end there, Clem obviously got himself into a bit of a bad position. As soon as the disruptor count gets to like 6, 7, 8, which it was, that's when it's so hard to engage your opponent, especially on a map like Lightshade. I know it's technically all open, but if you're handling it like PartinG was just then, he was always against like a corner, a surface, meaning that Clem couldn't get that true wraparound that he was looking for.
Yeah, well, as we get ready to move on to Oxide for game number 3, we have a tied-up series, and, well, I don't think anyone is crazy surprised that Clem was able to bust out some kind of early aggressive build or something over here. I think a lot of people would have thought PartinG was going to be the super aggressive one. It was going to be able to take the game, like the early game stages, and was going to look a little bit scared for PartinG in the later game stages, but man, so far, it has been quite the opposite in this series. Interested to see how this third game plays out now.
Yeah, getting into the third map, it will be Oxide, and spawning over here in the bottom left is the blue Terran, it is Clem.
And up here at the top right-hand side of the map, our red Protoss player, he is PartinG. Ben, you were talking about those observers and everything and how he can just be annoying, and I think, yeah, it's a really good point. Just the observers allowing PartinG to have such good positional play in that last game because he was able to be aggressive and annoying with his army and get out of there before Clem was able to really get in position. He constantly is darting back and forth between those bases and able to identify when he needed to start backing off, when he needed to start retreating back home. So Clem really wasn't able to get a lot done, even though Clem had a larger army for a lot of that game.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the whole game was quite a feisty one, actually. I think they both played it pretty well. There's obviously some mistakes here and there, but these two styles clash in a really fun way.
Yeah.
They both want to be aggressive, and when you're having to be defensive as well, it just got a little bit chaotic. Like, there were so many run-by attempts by PartinG that, you know, did a lot of damage, actually. 40 SV dropping. Clem has entered this this whole series just playing very different TVP as well, which I like by him because, yeah, PartinG is the kind of guy that he'll just do his own thing, man. Like, he really will just do his own thing. And when you're playing against a guy that's pretty much going about his gameplay in exactly the same way, Clem's just going to do his own thing. That's when PartinG can be a bit like, oh, what's going on? Oh, okay. I love this. This is one of those things where your opponent can scout you, and you're like, what? There's no natural?
Yeah.
But this is true mind gaming by PartinG here.
And just to be totally clear, guys, this is not one of those Clem was going for an engineer bait. No, Clem hasn't sent an SCV across the map or anything. There's no blocks or anything. PartinG is just straight up taking his third instead of his natural. The funny thing is, Clem hasn't sent his SCV across the map because he's going for a proxy starport. Ben, is there a chance that Clem just doesn't see this until he's already basically doing his Hellion drop?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think that Hellion drop's just going to go straight for the main base rather here. And but the thing is, PartinG's going to get over to this base, and he's also not. Oh, I mean, that's a really late CC, but that's not exactly what you want to be going up against. Is somebody that hasn't fallen for this trick, and it's not because they don't scout. Well, it kind of is, but yeah, it's just they haven't bothered. And this is going to get very spicy, and I love games like this.
Hellions are going to take a little bit of damage, but that can absolutely be repaired back up. Well, I wanted to say that, but actually the timing for this, well, you know, the SCV finished the starport. Perfect. You got an SCV there to repair these back up. Hellions being revealed is definitely big. Again, PartinG should know now what is going to be heading his way. He has that next Stalker coming on out. What's interesting to me, Ben, is that he does send that Stalker down to the low ground now. He sends it back up to the high ground. I was going to say, no reason to send it to your third, right?
Kind of, but I'm so scared for PartinG. The way that he's actually made his base, those probes in the main base, they could, like, really funnel out there.
Oh, boy.
He's actually kind of walled himself in. And, I mean, PartinG's going to spot this, but that Stalker was a little bit late to react here, and oh, man.
Oh, no.
Look at these lines. This base layout from PartinG. Oh, missed shot by the Hellions, actually, but, yeah, this base layout.
Line them up.
It was not the base layout. I mean, 8 probes so far, that's not too bad.
Now PartinG is like, wait, where's your base over here?
Yeah, Clem's like, what the hell is this? And I wonder where he's going to go. Maybe he's thinking he's getting one base all in, because that is one thing that PartinG has done recently. He's gone for the one base Blink Stalker all in against, I can't remember who it was, but it was definitely on 2K Atmosphere.
But he just goes back into the main base now, and this is where it just gets really, really awkward, right? Because PartinG is... he's going to have basically every single building in his main base revealed as well. He sees the Robo is also at home. The medevac taking some hits, but it does get out of there alive. And Clem, even if he is a little bit worried about that one base all and everything, and he is actually grabbing bunkers back at home.
Yeah, and look, they're all in his main base. He's 100% convinced he's getting one base all in.
But he's still done some really good damage regardless.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like, Clem is ahead, but whether he knows that or not, like, he's kind of thinking right now, where is this attack of yours? Like, this has to be happening. And the fact that he's like not putting any bunkers down in his natural, he's truly respecting the one base that he thinks is happening. He's not even making SCVs. Now over here, he's like, you cheeky fella, you. And so now we're back to a situation where Clem knows what he's up against. He knows he's in decent shape, and more pros are falling here.
Two of those Hellions are not enough to one-shot the workers through the shield battery, but the Stalker is going to be coming on forward, sniping up a handful of those SCVs down here on the low ground, picks off the Adept, is losing a lot of hit points on these Marines. Nice micro here from PartinG. Wants to make sure his escape route is secured over here, as he does not want to get trapped in by the Marines in the siege tank, and is going to take one big hit from that siege tank, but now we end up seeing some great micro over here from PartinG. Gets out of here with the majority of those Stalkers. I don't know if he actually lost almost any over there. He does end up losing 2, it looks like, in the end.
Not bad for a tank. I think the tank at the back, it was a nice bait tank, but maybe just a little bit too far back there. And okay, this is getting dicey now, because that orbital is low. The second tank at the high ground is getting some good shots off. 2 Stalkers for 1 tank, but they're so battered and bruised here, Ravi. Like, these aren't the kind of Stalkers that could stay here for a long time.
Yeah, they're going to have to be really, really careful. The siege tank on the high ground is starting to move down, and that orbital is even getting low enough that if Clem doesn't actually respect these Stalkers, he's going to lose a lot of this mining time just repairing. PartinG getting put into an awkward position over here. He is getting to that position where he's almost trapping himself against the Marines. He can't really blink out anymore. Has to be really, really cautious about this.
I love the Observer Snipe, stopping PartinG from actually seeing what he's actually against here. And now there's a medevac, so these Marines can get healed up, which is actually a big, big deal. But PartinG, he's still on 2 base behind all this. He's not taking a third.
Yeah, blinks back, so that blink going to be on cooldown for a few seconds, allowing that siege tank to siege up in a more aggressive position. Is PartinG going to go for it? No, he's just going to end up blinking on out of there. Respects the heck out of that army. And, I mean, Ben, I know he's done some good damage. Has it been enough damage?
No, not at all, Ravi. Like, that last shot there from that tank, I think he got 2 extra Stalkers on the way out.
Yeah.
Again, PartinG giving a little shake of the head. He's one of the players that seems to be very real
in the main base.
Oh, but there is a tank ready, which it will get pounced on. Oh, there's a second tank getting the shots off over on that right side there. Nice defense, but nice attack by PartinG. He has to keep his opponent back now, because he is going for that third base. He's going for the same kind of thing, charge and the Robo Bay and what have you. But Clem, he feels that breath of fresh air here. He's like, okay, I can breathe again finally, and gets a drop out on the map.
Yeah, really big that he's able to get out the drop, but also he has a Viking out to try and push back that War Prism, or at least make it more difficult for him to do these kind of blinks up into the main base. The Tech Lab researching combat shields is the one closer to these Stalkers, so is more likely to get focus fire down. Combat shields is going to get denied over here, and of course PartinG doesn't know if it's combat shields or stim, but he is going to be able to get out of there. It doesn't take too much damage on the War Prism either. Some really good pickoffs over here, and now this becomes really scary over here for Clem, because the next Tech Lab is still vulnerable, but now he's able to force a recall over here with his drop, and great reaction there from Clem. Just snipes off 1 or 2 workers there, and then just backs off.
Yeah, that was nice by both of them. Like, when you asked me, is this enough from PartinG? I felt the first bit no, but the second part, absolutely. And Clem, he's been forced into an all-in situation here, Ravi. He's going up to a 4th and 5th barracks. There's no 3rd CC. This is a call where it's like, okay, we'll know whether it's the right one in a couple of minutes' time, but I mean, if PartinG runs up this ramp, he's going to know what he's up against, which that is actually a big deal that he's seen these barracks in production.
Yeah, the barracks being down here on the natural expansion makes it a lot easier to spot out. Handful of these Widow Mines, and the Bioforce are going to be charging on forward. Great focus fire on one of those individual Widow Mines. 1 or 2 of the Stalkers are going to go down since it looks like Blink is on cooldown. He gets another 2 Stalkers. Great pickoffs there for Clem. And I guess one of the questions I was going to ask you, Ben, is do you wait for combat shields? But I guess after picking off a handful of those Stalkers, it looks almost like Clem is just looking to try and bully his way across the map right now.
He might do. I mean, that's a lot of red Marines there, so he has to be careful, but the tank count's good. I think he just sniped a little sentry here. And these Stalkers, they might be getting a bit ahead of themselves here against that little drop of Clem, but Clem, we do know that he's on 5 barracks now, Ravi. This is going to be a lot of bio just flooding across the map, and PartinG's kind of bleeding out Stalkers here and everywhere, but that army is so red. If he takes a fight now, he has to be kind of worried against that Colossus.
Oh, the Colossus is going to be really brutal. Very important that he focus fires down that Colossus. The War Prism picks it up before it loses anything more than shields. Unloads it again. Is doing some great pickup micro over here as he continues to whittle away at the Marines and Marauders. And Ben, you were talking about this. Clem was in a very committed position. He loses a vast majority of his army, and PartinG has a 3rd base to fall back on.
He certainly does, Rab. He's not all in, is PartinG by any means. Even go for the double forge despite being under this kind of pressure and seeing that 4th and 5th. I'm not sure that's the call, but he is moving up to his 3rd Colossus here. That Warp Prism getting scarily low. Does take out the tank, and this Warp Prism, oh my goodness, it's so low here. But PartinG, can you afford to chase? I mean, he's defending very well as well.
Yeah, Warp Prism some Zealots to deal with the drop and has the shield battery there as well. Warp Prism almost leading the charge. It does end up going down over there to the Widow Mine shot. Very well done. Clem also has enough reinforcements that are turning around and doing a lot of damage. Now that all the Zealot buffers are gone, the Colossus have to be very careful, but they are able to push this army back for Clem just a little bit. Clem now has his +1 weapons and his combat shields upgrade. He's going for the migrational Nomad Terran style as he lifts off his main orbital command, sends it over to the 3rd. It is not a 3-base Terran, guys. It's still 2-base Terran. But he's got some Liberator Siege up over here. He's looking to try and make something happen, but these Zealots continuing to push him back.
This is super bad for Clem now. Super bad. That economy, that work account, yeah, and GG is called. Clem scans and he's like, you know what? This was not my game. And PartinG, honestly, he handled everything really damn well. I think the Stalker stuff, when he got into the main base, that's when things started to crumble quite a bit for Clem. But PartinG, he's been feisty in this series, man. He's playing really good.
Looked almost like a very scary game there for PartinG after that Hellion opening. Really did tons and tons of damage to PartinG, and you're talking about the wall-up, which very much did become a factor.
I'll be honest, though, the real winner there, that 3rd base, just putting it at the 3rd instead of the natural, that really confused the crap out of Clem. He wasn't SCVing up, he was putting bunkers in his main base. PartinG's a mad genius, man. Sometimes it looks amazing. In this case, I was like, I love it just because of the way the game is going, but it absolutely paid off in dividends. And because Clem is so good, he misread the situation, but it's like if he was a worse player, and he went off like PartinG's image as well, because he has one base blink stalkered people, and just the past week or so. But anyway, guys, we're going to head to a short break and we'll find out who is the victor between Clem and PartinG.
An exciting series here as we have a 2-1 series so far between PartinG and Clem in some epic PVTs, almost as epic as that last song from the break. Really enjoyed that cowbell tune.
Almost as much as I love PartinG's hair on that poster there. It's absolutely gorgeous. But this, I thought it started off really good for Clem. I know, like, there was definitely a misfire there on the Nexus. I don't know what, well, it should have been on probes, obviously. But yeah, I didn't think this was the worst thing in the world for him. But because of that mind game by PartinG, having that third, or the natural at the third location, the overreaction by Clem putting 2 bunkers in his main, being like, okay, he's one base Blink Stalker in me. I saw this. I saw him do it in GSL. And, you know, it didn't happen at all. So definitely some good mind gaming from PartinG there. Clem's whole army was red here, meaning that when he took this fight, it was definitely a bit of a brutal one. But yeah, I think there's a lot of little things that PartinG's doing that's just making it difficult, man. Like, it's really tricky. Like, if Clem was just like, I'm going to move a bit more over to the left for that third base, then he could have put, like, bunkers on the low ground, and then that Blink Stalker push and the natural would never have happened. And you can definitely tell that PartinG he's a smart dude, and he is really respecting the fact that his opponent is very good.
Yeah. I mean, all of that, even just the fact that combat shields got sniped off, so it finished 7 seconds after the engagement happened. A lot of things going not so well there. For this young lad down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map, he is the blue Terran player from Team Liquid. It's Clem.
Yeah, Blackburn, this is going to be a rough one. Spawning over in the bottom right, as that red Protoss, it is PartinG.
Do or die situation as well for Clem. There's no double elimination kind of bracket over here. It's just a single elimination playoffs. Winner moves on, and PartinG already here at match point as we head on to Blackburn. So Ben, break it down for me. What do you think about this Blackburn?
Blackburn's a tricky one, man. I know, like, if the game gets going, Protoss can always be worried about a Terran Doom dropping into their main and stuff, but it's also kind of uncomfortable for you as a Terran. If Protoss play it well, there's no way you can really get a scout off, but it's also just, it's an uncomfortable map, Ravi. It really is, and we do see from Clem, he's already saying to himself, okay, I'm going to deny scouting entirely from my opponent. Like, Clem has been playing a special sort of TVP, his own brand, if you will.
Yeah, by denying the scout with that extra little supply depot there, it just makes it a little bit harder for PartinG to get a whole lot of vision on specifically things like the second gas geyser timing. Is there going to be that command center coming out? And we already see PartinG is going to go for that cybernetics core wall off and everything before grabbing that Nexus over on his low ground, but it is going to be, in fact, that factory before any kind of command center opening here from Clem.
Certainly is. I mean, it really feels like this is the time for you to shine, right? Like, I know a lot of people have questioned Clem, like, can he do it in a tournament with the Koreans in? And this is really, like, it's been an unfortunate bracket for him. He's not got to play his flagship matchup, which is TVZ, and he was happy about getting PartinG of all the players he could have ran into. But so far, PartinG, he's just been very sneaky, very sly, and wow, Clem's actually one-basing here. This might turn into some Widowmine with Cloak shenanigans here in this game.
Yeah, no SCV out on the map ready to throw down a proxy either. It's going to be the starport in base this game. He is also sending around that Marine, looking around for some potential proxies, but he's not going to spot the one that PartinG is in fact going for, which is going to be that proxy gateway position right above that gold base. Probe heading back and the Adept heading forward. So
he's making Hellions just off the one factory without a reactor on it. So he might be doing like the 3 Hellion drop here, which is also still a good strategy. We have seen that he's very good with his Hellions. But yeah, definitely an unusual approach to the matchup. He's still going to have a ton of gas to spend, so I am very curious what he's going to do afterwards. Although, I've seen him do this build a few times, and he's talked about what it's good against, what it's bad against, but yeah, it's going to be pretty damn tricky. It might even just be flying the Marines across the map, you know, like, even though it's very normal to do it with the Hellions.
So is it the plan sort of like fly the Marines across the map in the medevac and the Hellions run into the natural?
Exactly. I can't remember who he did this against. It might have been like Showtime or MaxPax or somebody, but I was like, holy crap, how do you stop that? And he's like, well, if you go Stargate, it's really damn hard, but PartinG's done anything but Stargates. But PartinG's looking to be aggressive. This might This is going to go crazy already. And, oh, nice wall. Nice trapping with those Adepts here. But still, Clem's going to be able to get away with a few of his units. But that's already probably the go time for Clem, and he's in the main base here, Ravi.
Yeah, the shield battery's in a very odd position in the main base as well, as it is on the far left-hand side, but it actually ends up working out since that's where the Stalkers get warped in. We're starting to see the Marines getting picked away at, and Clem has to lift up and pick out as 3 Stalkers. The shield battery's a little bit too much. Now Clem also dealing with this struggle at the front lines, as 3 Stalkers and the Adept are going to be able to bust down that supply depot wall, and that is putting Clem in a very awkward position. Cyclone going to pop out. This will allow him to pick away at one of the Adepts. Has to be so careful with these units, though.
He certainly does. The Viking even not saved here by the medevac, and while these units, these Stalkers, are maybe a little bit forfeit over here, you can definitely say that...
Supply blocked.
Yeah, I mean, he lost a depot, right? I definitely like this position far more for PartinG, but Clem is kind of almost forced to all in here, which... Can PartinG hold that? I mean, that is a lot of Stalkers here, Ravi.
Well, the bright side over here, Ben, is that he's going to get unsupply blocked as he loses a lot of these Marines. The Cyclone's lock-on breaks, and he also ends up losing the Cyclone. He loses the medevac. The Stalkers microing back over here. PartinG is continuing to get more and more damage done left and right. The Liberator will be popping out, which maybe is going to be able to help out a little bit over here, but just look at the worker supply. I know Terrans is supposed to be a little bit behind, Ben, but not this far behind.
This is a terrible situation. A terrible situation if you're a Clem fan. Like that drop when he did it in the main base and he went for the probes. I'm a little bit surprised that he saw that shield battery and he saw a few Stalkers. Oh, as I say that, there is a lot of Stalkers here marching in. The tank does fall. But for 2 Stalkers, that's actually not a bad trade considering he's pretty far ahead economically. But I wish he went for the natural, I think. Like if he picked up and went to the natural, he'd have ran away from the Stalkers and stuff. This Liberator, just deny mining for a little bit, but PartinG was quick to react, actually not losing anything in Clem's face. That is the face of a man that's like, well, this didn't really work out too well for me, actually.
Yeah, Clem's Liberator control is absolutely top-notch. One of the best in the world with those Liberators. We'll see if he can get something done, maybe. He is picking away, I think, at the Stalkers as they inch a little bit too far forward for a moment's time, but still has a long journey ahead of him to try and come back in this game. And PartinG, he is not the kind of player to just easily let his opponent come back in the game, but he is going for Robotics Bay. Doesn't have blink or anything. It's just a prism. He's going to use that prism to elevate her up to the main base, and Clem has a very hard time splitting up his units between the different locations. The stim, the extra tech lab on the factory, these are both going to be so exposed over here, Ben.
They certainly are, and PartinG sneaks into the main base unnoticed entirely. Stim halted, and Clem, yeah, he's going to be in position to hold this, and I don't think PartinG can do too much because he doesn't have stim yet, but still, this is just damage that Clem can't afford to take.
Cancels the tech lab again. Kills the tech lab again. This is absolutely brutal. Stalkers are getting microed out by the prism. Not even able to focus fire that prism down. He does manage to get a handful of those Stalkers, sure, but PartinG is going to be so happy because he knows he has delayed the ability for Clem to have any real presence on the map besides that Liberator for such a long time. This is where he just gets to play greedy behind all this, and he already has that Robotics Bay finish. He's getting up his Colossus. He knows he has a world's amount of time to play with.
Yeah, this is kind of a disaster for Clem, honestly. Like, he's going to go all in. Like,
he has to.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much he can do from here.
Pull the boys?
Pulling boys into a Colossus is going to be rough. I mean, I think he's being respectful about this. Like, he can do a lot of damage with this. I mean, PartinG, he's doing the right thing as well. He's coming out to greet it. He's going to force siege ups and run away. And just great play all around from PartinG. It's got to be said.
Yeah, even without blink, he's using that War Prism to keep these units alive, micro them back as they start taking a little bit of damage. We're going to see Clem just trying to siege up 1 tank at a time so he can just get across the map as fast as possible. But we already see first Colossus is here. Force Shield being used to pick off a handful of those Marines. Guardian Shield will be expiring over here pretty shortly. And with that plus the Force Field, there isn't enough energy for another one. So that is one thing going a little bit better here for Clem. And Clem also gets some great pot shots off us. So these siege tanks did not unsiege, much to PartinG's dismay.
Yeah, I was looking at that and I was like, I don't see how Clem breaks this, honestly, but that is one way to go about it. Getting the Protoss be a little bit too antsy, a little bit too aggressive there, and granted, you don't want to be fighting into this army of fully sieged up tanks, but has he even started charge here, Ravi? I'm not even sure, but if he had if he had charge, he'd shut this down. Even that Liberator over there behind everything, just dealing damage. All of a sudden, There's a little ray of hope here for Clem.
You know, it's worth mentioning also, Ben, that, yeah, it's a 3-base Protoss player, but it's not really mining that heavily off the 3 bases. The bunkers are going to start getting denied over here by the Colossus. The charge on forward, the Liberator does get taken out, but the Siege Tanks on the back lines just wailing away at this army. Is PartinG whittling away at enough of the Marine count that he can start to push in eventually? The Shield Battery Overcharge is going to make things difficult as he does start to push in yet again. Shield Battery Overcharge, keeping alive, the units alive. Siege Tanks going to get pounced on by a handful of those slow Zealots, but we're seeing that Clem, he's starting to break through the gateway lines. Is the Colossus line going to be broken through, though? No. The answer is no. PartinG 3-1s Clem.